There you are.
All right, we're all set.
Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to our Library Board of Directors meeting on Monday, April 26th. I shall call this meeting to order at 6:03. I believe we have no public input. I have no correspondence or announcements. Do you, Megan?
I know I do not.
Okay, we'll move on to the meeting minutes from March 22nd. I presume you've all read them. Thank you for writing them, Sue. Very efficient.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Connie. A second?
I think there's I'm sorry. There is a little mistake in there. I think I think a word was left out. I don't know if you want to put it in now or whatever.
But Judy, let's second it first for discussion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Robin seconded it. Okay, and Judy, you found an error?
Well, under the Friends of the Bethel Library, I think what it's supposed to say is Dan discussed with the Friends Board the possibility of working with the library. I think it says the two, so I think you need the library board in there.
Okay.
Would that make sense? I don't know.
Okay, well, we certainly could make that change if everybody agrees. Or any other corrections, changes, or comments? All those in favor of accepting the minutes from the March 26th with the one correction, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chris?
Chris has to abstain.
You need to abstain because you weren't there. Okay. Okay, moving on to the treasurer's report, Tia, our good treasurer. Our efficient treasurer.
You're on mute.
Am I on mute?
No.
No, Tia.
No,
Okay.
I'm
All right,
on.
thank you.
Sorry. At first I had to get out of like the general thing so I could get back to my screen. But anyway, did everyone have an opportunity to look at our reports, both the accounting of all the individual accounts and the encumbrances?
Yes.
Any questions? Just so everybody knows, we will be spending down, especially in our library operations and additionally in our grant accounts. Of course, our library board, as we move into any kind of fundraising efforts, we have monies there to fund that. But so we'll be looking to try and spend down as much as we can. And I know Megan's got a number of projects earmarked for those dollars. So if there's no questions, can I get a move to accept the treasurer's report as submitted?
I move to accept the report.
I second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm
Okay,
assuming that was Judy
Yep.
seconding and Robin first?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, now I can see people.
thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Tia. Moving on to Friends of the Library report, Jan.
We're starting to gear up to actually hopefully reopen the bookseller and get ourselves going and come up with a good goal that we can all work toward now that things seem to be getting normal. Excuse me, my dog is growling and she's going to bark in a moment. The May is Friends of the Bethel Library Month at Big Y, just so you all know. So run over to Big Y in May and buy a reusable shopping bag and we'll get $1. One holdout, they did this for us in, I think it was January. We didn't know what was going on. So we made $11. But this year, this time, we have a terrific new gal. She's not new to any of us, I don't think. Diane Golden joined the board of the Friends as publicity person, and she is going to do a dynamite job. So you'll be hearing more and more
Right.
about the
Can we send out a blast so maybe the community would go and buy?
One is scheduled to go out this week.
Okay.
Told you,
great.
this gal is on top of everything, and she's in, communication with Megan and just everybody else. She's terrific. So we're hoping to make a little more than $11 this time. And that's about all I have.
Great. Okay, any questions for Jan? No, thank you very much, Jan. Always
You're
good to
welcome.
have you. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is my report, and I really have nothing to add other than thank the committees that have met in the past month. I really appreciate everybody's enthusiasm and hard work, and we're moving ahead, so that's a good thing. And I also want to, as you know, remind everyone that our budget passed. Thank you for voting. It's a good feeling to know that it was one budget, one vote this year, and now we can at least move ahead with knowing how many dollars we have for next year. So, and Megan, moving on to your report.
Okay, let me just stop share. Anyone have any questions on the spending report?
Yeah, I do. I noticed that the delta between last year and this year, if you can scroll down to the, yeah, so we're at 48%. I would expect the top section to be pretty close, and it is 65% a year ago versus 61% spending right now. That's great, but on the materials side, I noticed that there's a pretty big gap there. So I was just curious as to, is that a lag in?
We had just talked about this a few months ago, and unfortunately, nothing has changed since then. Baker and Taylor is still on a 4 to 6 week lag with delivery, and we don't get billed until books are delivered. It is getting a little better. We're about 3 to 4 weeks now, but you're not going to see a catch up on the spending report till next month. There'll still be a lag, just not as big, hopefully.
So in terms of how we think we're going to end up the year, do we think we'll be pretty close to right on, every pun intended, right on the money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my biggest concern.
We track estimated spending.
Right.
Time a purchase goes through, we track it, so we're right on par for what we did last year.
Okay, good. I figured it was still the B&T issue, but
Yep. Unfortunately, that's where the bulk of our materials come from because that's the best discount we get.
Yeah.
So we have to have patience unless we want to pay full price for items, which we don't.
No.
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
more questions on this before I move on to statistics? Okay. Okay, any questions regarding statistics? Okay, I do want to point out one discrepancy. If you look at the e-content column, it is slightly different than previous months. I had to update the numbers for each month because Overdrive purchased RB Digital last year, and they've slowly been transitioning content from one platform to another. So at this point, RB Digital only exists for magazines and for Acorn TV, although magazines is now being absorbed and Acorn will happen mid-May. So it's changing how the statistics are reported. So we just reflected that in the e-content. So if you looked at last month, you might see a difference of 5 or 6 circs per month change, but this is now the most accurate report.
Can I bring up one thing? I know our bag books has been a popular item. And when I was doing some work downtown this weekend, I talked to a number of people by the library and asked them about, how were they using the space and how are they using the property, and and everybody loved all the work that had been done, but especially the parents with younger children were thrilled with the bag of books. They were like, oh my God, this saved us. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team for coming up with that. And I know it was a bit of work, and it is a bit of work, but I heard from a number of people about what a great addition that is. So
It's really good to hear.
Yeah.
And then you'll notice as well that circulation is coming back up. So having the lobby open for the last 2 weeks of March helped bring those numbers back up. So we're hoping that next month we'll see just as much growth as from the previous.
Wonderful.
Then I am going to pull up. All right, so Evergreen recently did a large update that's now going to allow us for email receipts and also auto renewals. Now, how auto renewals works is if you have items checked out that are not new, at the end of their due period, if they're not on hold for someone else, they will automatically renew for an additional 3 weeks. So you don't have to call to
Oh.
get renewed. It hasn't gone into effect yet. Libraries have to manually opt in. So we're currently working on that, but we're looking at like a June timeframe for that going into effect. So I
Wonderful.
think that will make a lot of patrons very happy that they don't have to worry about those due dates as much. Then we finished up the AAR Tax Assistance Program in mid-April, and we ended up helping 71 people with their taxes this year.
Great.
AARP did a great job coming in. They were able to handle everyone, and it was a very smooth process, and we got a lot of positive feedback. And I'm going to give you an update on the AARP community grant. We met with Eileen at Parks and Rec, Tom and I, to discuss the property and the installation. So Parks and Recreation is going to prep the lawn. That means removing a couple inches of grass and soil, putting down weed mats, and then wood chipping those areas. So that way when they cut the grass, they don't have to move the tables each time. So the tables will have permanent locations. So we worked out the logistics of that. We're going to give them 2 weeks notice when the tables are to be delivered. So they'll get the work done. And then they'll take receival of the tables when they arrive. Last week we ordered lawn signs to promote the coming of the equipment and just to thank AARP for the grant. So you'll see those on the property later this week. And then we're gonna shoot for end of May, having the tables installed.
And Megan, Park and Rec is going to take care of this whole thing. So the cleanup and
Yes.
the maintenance and everything, correct?
So they are low maintenance. We purchased them for the fact that they require very little maintenance.
Mhm.
They already take care of our grounds. They do pick up, they empty the garbage cans. They've been doing that for the last year and that's gone well. So they're going to continue to do that.
Okay, that's my question with the garbage. Thank you.
Then, so we advertised the library clerk position last week. We've received 9 local candidates.
Wow.
Tomorrow we'll start interviewing and we're hoping to have them all done within 1 week.
Great.
At the next meeting, I'll have some very good news for everyone.
Mhm.
Then we've recently heard from the Connecticut State Library that the American Rescue Plan Act has funds available to public libraries. So the IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, has allocated funds to the state, which are then being distributed down to the municipal level. So our library qualifies for $17,900 in
Right.
funding.
Wow.
We do have to apply for it, but as long as we apply and meet the criteria, we qualify for those funds. Each library is required to complete a virtual training before they can apply. Tom and I have both completed that. There are 3 areas for which you can apply. We're going to be focusing on the 3rd area, which is improving technology to the community. And that can be done through equipment and training. If we choose to provide any type of computers or internet services, we have to be SEPA compliant, which requires us to have some filtering software on our computers, which we currently don't do. So we're looking into what that means at this time before we move forward. You don't have to be SEPA compliant to participate in the grant, but you have to be if you wanted to circulate something like hotspots or laptops, anything like that. So we're reaching out to other libraries that currently meet that compliance to find out what that would mean before we make a decision. The due date for the application will be June 30th. Any questions on that?
Megan, is every library in the state eligible for this?
So some libraries, so like Danbury, for example, their allotment is substantially smaller because in the first round of funding, select libraries were given grant opportunities other libraries like us were not able to qualify for. So
Mhm.
every library is getting something, but the determination is different for each library.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so we had the Boy Scouts come around the last 2 weeks and do some maintenance on the story walks. They went through their first winter, so they needed a little bit of repair, so they took care of that. We got our story walk outside. We've already had some very positive feedback and some happy families. So from this, and from also, you know, our conversation with Parks and Recs about the property and discussions we had about the friendship bench, which we are going to talk about later, the staff and I started discussing other ways to utilize the grounds, because in the last year, especially with COVID, we've seen more and more people using the library property. So we want to continue to focus on the development of the property and things we can do to enhance the library within the community. So one of the projects the staff and I are working on right now, I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to try. Is putting in a musical garden around the property.
Oh,
But
that's
it
cute.
looks like they do it for all ages too. So they also have components for teenagers and adults. So I'm just showing you the children's page right now because it's the most colorful. But we thought about putting a few of these around the property. So we have these cement slabs outside, which used to be the home for the sculptures. And that was run by a local grant, which has run its course. So now the slabs are there. They were meant to be removed after the project ended, but they weren't. So we thought the best thing to do was to make use of them. So we're going to be looking into putting some of these features there and sporadically throughout the property. And then this way too, down the road, when someone wants to donate something to the exterior of the library, like a bench or things like that, this would be built into that plan. So someone could have the opportunity to purchase an additional piece of equipment to be added to our collection. Anybody have questions?
That would be so appealing to the kids and other programs that you're going to have there. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, and I think too, you know, it's not just for kids, it really is great for all ages. What was really surprising about the story walk, which we did envision for children, has really turned into a community-wide activity. We have a lot of adults that actively come around to see the story walk displays. So it really hasn't just been for children. I would say from observation that almost half the people who do look at it don't have children with them, and they complete the full circle.
That's great.
So I think this is great. We did receive quite a few donations in the last year from members of the community in memory of residents, and this is a great way to use some of those funds to enhance the exterior experience of the library.
So have you chosen the pieces that you're going to purchase for the for outside?
We haven't selected all of them yet. We're trying to pick one for each age group. And we're also doing it based on the funds available because the prices are really they're across the board. Some are under $800, others are about $2,000 a piece.
Hmm.
So we are limited in what we can select.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's really awesome, actually. I love it.
Megan, what about upkeep for them? Are they sturdy and would they last a long time without having to do anything?
Yes, these are commercial grade. They require a wipe down each spring, which can be done with a basic cleaning product, and the staff could handle. We're looking at places that provide to museums and other types of organizations, so we know that they're able to handle that kind of use, and they're specifically designed for the exterior.
Mhm. I think it's adorable.
I think it's really cute too.
Great. So we're hoping to get that done towards the middle to end of summer, because some of these pieces, they're built to order, so they will take a bit of time, but we're hoping to have them by the end of the summer.
Is there, have you all thought about any kind of event around unveiling them, and maybe some kind of musical something or other? I don't know what. Just all of a sudden, as I was looking at this, I thought, wow, this could be a way of maybe getting people to do TikToks on the different things and submit them for different age groups, and give awards or something, just something to bring the community in and kind of enliven it. I mean, just a thought.
No, it's a great idea. What we had been discussing was doing a outdoor open house in the fall, having tables all around the exterior of the property, focusing on different areas of library service that we can showcase. So we could certainly incorporate that into an open house style program. But we're just right now currently working on pricing and installation.
Yeah.
Then we'll move on to programming, but that is a great idea. All right, then. So the last thing on my list for today is reopening the library. Governor Lamont has said as of May 19th, all remaining business restrictions will be lifted, which means that we can go back to a somewhat normal operation. So we're looking at reopening all areas of the building except the Sealy House as of May 19th. Oh, sorry, May 10th. But what I need to ask of the board is permission to close the building and our services to the public on Friday, May 7th, to allow the staff to put all the furniture back and get the building set up for reopening. So we want to close what was the Parloa lab, move all the computers and equipment back upstairs to the second floor. We want to bring back out some seating and some tables. And over the course of the summer, we will slowly move back more furniture, but we'll start with bringing out furniture that will still allow for social distancing. So we would need a minimum of 1 day to get all of that organized.
Well, Megan, you and I have talked about this, and I think it's commendable that the library staff is willing to do the physical movement and to set the library up. I think your staff needs to be commended. And I think closing 1 day is a small price to pay to be able to open up on Monday. So I hope the rest of the board feels the same way. So we need a motion to,
Well, can I just say something? You need to have some kind of announcement though in
oh,
know.
sure. Yeah, publicity, of course.
publicity so that people know.
Right.
Well, we
Lots of notification that it's going to be closed that day.
Well, as soon as you make the decision tonight, we'll start announcing it tomorrow. I didn't want to put anything out to the public until I had approval of the board. So it is a small window. However, foot traffic is minimal right now since you can't go past the lobby. So I think that by sending an email out to the community, putting it on our Facebook page and putting signs in the building, and we'll put flyers and all the checkouts between now and then will be enough to inform the community.
So Megan, once the library opens on May 10th, will that be the end of curbside service?
No.
You're going to
Any-
continue?
Any services that we brought about because of COVID will most likely stay. So curbside pickup, bag of books, those aren't going anywhere. Appointment-based one-on-one services will continue. So there are very few things that will end with COVID, because it's also going to take some people time. You know, not everyone can get vaccinated right away. And people with vulnerable family members may not be in a rush to come back inside the library. So we really want to be respectful of the fact that not everyone is in a position to return yet.
No, that's wonderful. Wonderful.
Well,
I'll make the motion.
Like,
Go ahead. You make the motion, Connie?
I
I'll
make a motion that Megan closes the library on May 7th to get the library furniture back in place so that it'll be ready for the opening on May 19th of the library. Yeah,
May
19th?
10th.
10th.
Okay, May 10th.
A second?
Robin seconded.
Robin, thank you. Yes? Yeah.
Robin
Yes.
seconded.
Okay, very good. Any
All
other
right, I
discussion
was
or
muted.
questions?
Megan, what was the date again of close? May?
Friday, May 7th.
Thank you.
I think it's really exciting. I think we wondered if we were ever going to be able to open again. So this is a big moment. Yeah.
So will the bookseller be open at the same time, or will that be open at a later date?
Much later.
Okay.
Not even in
No,
the,
no, I mean,
yeah.
that's fine. I just wasn't sure.
yeah. And
We're
we need to
hoping
be,
to
and we need to
fall.
tell people that absolutely in case they're looking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Great. All right, Megan, you have your approval, so your work is cut out for the next couple of weeks. Very exciting. Thank you. Okay, anything else on your report, Megan?
No, I am all done for this evening.
Okay. All right, moving on to committee reports. Policy Committee, Robin?
Okay, the policy committee met and we have some recommended revisions. I don't know if everyone got a chance to look at the red line version that Megan sent around. I'll highlight the points that we discussed.
I'm going to put it up on the screen. Just give me one moment. Sorry, very slow to load. All right, I'm just going to open it from my drive instead. Packet, okay, here we go. Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
I think the first suggested change was in section 7. Right.
I think section 6, Robin.
Where do you,
Yeah. Did we take out something about the treasurer?
I think that's later.
Oh, okay, thank you, okay.
So, 7 deals with honorary status when board members are no longer on the board. They can serve, be voted to honorary status. And we thought that besides not giving them voting privileges, we should also be able to exclude them from entrance into executive session. So we've just added that. Okay, and in the next section, I think we just capitalized the word bylaws. I don't think anybody will object to that too much. And then in section 4, previously, there was a limitation on holding one particular position for more than 3 terms, and that's been changed to 2, or we're proposing that it be changed to 2. And then in section 6, we talked about the confusion of the language associated with the what would happen if the terms of both the chairman and the vice chair expire and they don't get reappointed to the board. There was language that didn't seem workable. So we just are suggesting that the treasurer act as interim chairman, and that's going to be a very limited window of time from the point where that happens, because the appointments are, as I understand it, effective January 1, and our meeting is just a few weeks following that point. So it's a short-term appointment. Then we were addressing vacancies in any office, and we're proposing the chairman look for a volunteer replacement, and if none can be found, one will be appointed by the chair. So we just have to hope that no one leaves their offices, or Mary could force something on us that we may not.
That's why, be careful.
She's such a bully.
You betcha.
In section 9, we thought we should take out the language about the chairman performing duties of a chief executive officer, because that's not really what the chair does. So we thought that the language should reflect reality. And in section 10, the vice chair is going to serve either as the chair of the policy or the personnel committee. That's new language we're suggesting. In section 11, it seemed to require that we have a recording secretary, and this, we've just added the words "if any," so that we have the discretion to either have a recording secretary or not. We've managed in the past without one, and you know, we're not sure what the plan is long term, but right now we don't have one, so we want to have the flexibility.
You used to have one.
Excuse me?
You used to have a paid one.
Yes, yeah. So this gives us the opportunity to have one or not. And then in section 12, we increased the amount of disbursements for which 2 signatures would be required from 500 to 750, because it's a more realistic number in this day and age. And Megan didn't think there were too many that came at the 500 level. So just for matter of convenience, we increased that amount. We proposed to increase that amount. Regular meetings, we're proposing that we reduce the number of required meetings from 12 to 11. We didn't specify which month we would not meet, again, to give us some flexibility, but the schedule will be set at the end of each calendar year for the coming year, and that's when we can make our decision about which month we'll skip. And we're thinking most likely it'll be a summer month, which should make everybody happy. Then we had a discussion fairly lengthy about what happens if a board member is absent without notice or excuse over, for an extended number of occasions, or on an extended number of occasions. And we determined that the selectmen don't have the authority to remove a member of the board, nor do we. But we gave the chair the right, or the not the obligation, but really the right to request that a person in that position resign from the board. That would be a voluntary arrangement. And this is not, not just if someone is ill for a period of time, as long as notice is given or there's an excuse, we're not going to take this action, but it's just for someone who, essentially is taking up a spot on the board that's, they're not a productive member because they're never there for quite a, for a long period of time. Okay, so next, board committees. We've suggested that there be a reduction in the number of standing committees. So this would be eliminating the facility committee, the planning committee, and the technology committee. And then also requiring that each board member be a member of at least 2 committees. We felt that was a fair way to share the responsibilities among board members. And then below that, you'll see the elimination of those 3 standing committees coming out. Okay. And then when we actually read the duties of the development committee, we realized that no one in their right mind would ever be on the development committee if they needed to do these things, nor have they really been the duties that the development committee has had. So there's suggested language here, which we think reflects really what the development committee does now, which is essentially to conduct development and fundraising activities and interact with the community, and pared down significantly all of the other duties that were not realistic or in reality being performed. I think that is it. Did I miss any, Megan or Mary, to anybody, or from any members of the
You
committee?
did a great job.
Okay, so those are our proposals. They don't get voted on until the next meeting, so people have the opportunity to think about them. And if anybody has any questions about why we made these suggestions or what our thinking was, feel free to ask them now, so that you have, again, time to absorb that information for the next meeting.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
I'd like to just thank the bylaw committee. I know that a lot of work went into this, and they really hadn't been looked at in quite a while. And I think we will make sure that it goes each year, that they do get looked at and we keep them up to date. And this is a great start of bringing them up to where they should be.
Can I ask a question? Is it possible at this time to make one additional change, which would be that instead of reviewing these every year, we review them maybe every 2 years?
And your rationale, Tia?
It's just that it's once we've made these changes, I'm not sure, because a lot of these changes really sort of updated things. I don't know that you really need to take the time to look at it. You could always, we're supposed to be doing it every year and we hadn't done it in a number of years. It's a process to go through. And so just thinking that maybe every other year makes a lot of sense rather than every year.
Can I just chime in on that?
Yes, please.
So in the research I've done requesting bylaws from other towns, what I found is a lot of libraries or their boards are reviewing them every 5 years or as needed. Some do it every 2, but I didn't see any that came up as annually. And I think my concern just is that we're going to finalize them mid-May, and then we're going to start reviewing them again in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to stop us from doing it on an interim basis if we need to.
Exactly. If something came up and we realized there was some sort of structural change that needed to, we can always have a special committee meeting or whatever. And I didn't realize that, Megan, about the 5 years. I was just thinking more than annually, because
It's a lot of,
it's a lot of busy work, and I only mean that from a perspective of if we're not making a lot of changes, maybe, 5 years is not an unreasonable amount of time. Does anyone have any thoughts about that?
So you were suggesting 5 years, Tia?
It's based on what Megan said. To me, every year just seemed like a lot. So I was sort of like, why not every other year then? But I wasn't aware of that most have 5, and that's fine. I just think annually is.
Well, I don't think 5 is the required. I just pointing out that, in fact, some don't have a stipulation, it's really all over the place. Annually, I'm not seeing, but I am seeing, from the communications, one library commented, oh, our bylaws are 20 years old. Good luck with that. Others, we have ours reviewed every 5 years, so it's coming up soon. I was surprised by how many libraries asked for all of the information I collected when I was done. So, it is, bylaws can be tedious to review. So some libraries even select certain sections to target each review, so that way they're not looking at everything at once.
Yeah, I think 5 years or as needed would make sense.
That's a good way of putting it, Chris. 5 years or as needed. What section would that fall under? I am so sorry. Forgive
On
me.
the very last page, right before the years of adoption.
Okay.
Hi, guys. I finally got here.
I kind of-
Hey, Miss Terry.
5 years sound like an awful long time, though, that they not even be looked at?
Maybe we take baby steps and do like 3.
Yeah.
3 or 2.
Yeah.
And it may not need anything in 3 years, who knows? So, but the committee could look at it. Yeah.
I like Chris's suggestion of as needed added to it.
Yeah.
So if we said 3 years and as needed, or
Three
if
or as
needed, or however the terminology would be.
And if you look at this, oh, I'm at the wrong mouse. If you look at the dates of renewal, it's only in the last few years that it started being done annually. Before that, you see 2 years, 2 years, 5 years, 3, 4-year jump. It's only 13, 14, 15, 16. It's that cluster where it started becoming annual, but prior to that, it wasn't.
And since then, it hasn't been.
So I have to ask a question. When did we finish the library? Was that in those years that we were working on it, the 15, 16, 17?
No, it was before that, wasn't it?
Was it 2011?
Yeah.
Okay, then that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just think, it just like with the development committee, really stating it as to what they actually are doing. I think, 3 years is probably a good amount at the moment, and we can, or as needed. I like that. I think that makes sense.
So every 3 years or as needed?
Right.
Sounds
So
good.
you could say, these bylaws shall be reviewed every 3 years or as needed.
Do we want to say every 3 years or more frequently as needed? Or do we, because that could imply that we wouldn't even do it at 3 years.
Oh, thank you, lawyer. Good catch on that. Yeah, you're right.
Say it one more time.
Maybe we want to say at least every 3 years or as needed.
Section 2.
You get that, Megan?
Yep, I got it. So I'll add that in, and then I will resend out the bylaws with the change for review.
Okay. Anybody else have any suggestions or comments on any of the changes?
That was a good one to you. Good.
I didn't hear a lot of excitement about not having to serve on 3 committees. I should think you'd all be really, really, really
excited.
happy.
I'm excited.
We are so excited.
Okay, well, Robin, thank you very much, and thank you for all your hard work. And this will be on our agenda next month for a vote of approval.
Then I understand the real hard work is going to come when we have to go over the personnel policy.
Right, yeah.
So everybody be prepared.
So that's Thursday.
Okay, moving on to the scholarship committee, Judy.
Yes, we met on the 13th of April and to see how it, come up with some different ideas, whether we're going to continue the scholarship or if we're going to maybe do something else instead of a scholarship. We had a lot of discussion, a lot of good ideas, so many, in fact, that we're going to meet again on the 4th of May. And we've got people looking into different things now. So hopefully we'll have some information for the May board meeting. And if anybody has an idea of something, even if they're not on the committee, always let us know.
So are you doing a scholarship this year or not?
No, we're not doing one this year. No, we did. Remember,
Oh,
we voted
oh,
early
we
or
voted.
not to do one.
We voted to suspend it for this year.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought I remembered.
Yeah, so this would be next year or
Excuse me, do
Coming.
we have money for?
that's the problem. That's the problem mainly, I think. I don't think anybody foresees having any fundraisers, or if we do are able to have a fundraiser later on, whether the money should go to Megan for things that she needs to do at the library or whatever. And whether this scholarship is something that is still, it's $1,000 and it just doesn't seem like that much money. But there's also a history of it, which I think Mary's looking into to see, what might have happened in the past and how it started. And so we can go on and talk about that at the May meeting.
Well, thank you, Judy. I think that we really were weighing all the pros and cons and hope to be able to come back to the board with some recommendations. And that really was the purpose of our meeting, since we are not going to have a scholarship this year. And it's harder than we thought when you sit down and weigh, the pros and the cons. So it's a work in progress. So hopefully our May 4th meeting will move us ahead. Any questions on scholarship committee? Okay, development committee, Robin G.
Hi. So the development committee met last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the meeting because I had my second COVID shot the day before and I slept right through it. So I kind of apologize to everybody on the committee for that. But I'm feeling much better now. So anyway, the development committee did meet, and I did read the minutes from that meeting, which thank you, Megan, for supplying them to me. So I really don't have much to report, except I believe we would like to go through with the golf event again, and we're looking into some other revenue streams to get some donations to the library. So I'll have more for you after we meet the next time, because then I'll actually be present.
Oh, Robin, no fear. We certainly left you as chairman. So whether you were there, whether you weren't. So So we do have another meeting scheduled, right? So,
Oh, well, once we, bring down these committees, then we'll have lots more people on the development.
that's right. That's
Oh.
right. You're
We're
gonna have
looking
lots of
forward to
help.
seeing lots of you there. I'm pointing to all of you in my screen.
Yeah.
So that's
I
all I
think-
have. Sorry. What was
Right.
that,
I think
Mary?
the consensus from the meeting was that everybody would really like to be able to have the golf event. And especially since our holds have already, the people had paid their money and left it. So it's just exciting to have something to look forward to. So the next meeting should be very interesting. Sue?
Okay, yeah, Sue?
Megan, you were talking about having an outdoor event in the fall. Maybe we can do the golf and the outdoor event together as one whole thing.
Possible.
Mm. Actually, that could be exciting if we could coordinate it as a family event. Yeah.
And then we could do the shredding thing in the middle of it. We talked about that too.
We did, Terry, right, right. So,
My desire is to do a technology recycling event as well, but I've been looking into it. I still need to do some more research on how we can make that
That
work,
would be
but
good.
I think
lot of
everybody has a lot of technology at home
Behavior.
that they're looking to get rid of, and it seems like the library is a great place to do that if we can get money for it. So that's another idea. But again, I wasn't at the meeting, so I wasn't able to present that to the committee, but I did see it on the minutes, so I had told Megan about it. So, and Sue, so there you go. So anyway, those are some ideas. We actually do have ideas floating around, so that's good. So,
well, that's the most exciting part. We have such a great board, but it was the enthusiasm and the interest in moving ahead is great. So thanks, guys. Can't wait for the next
we're all
meeting.
ready to get back to real life, so yay. All right, that's it for me.
Okay. The next thing on our agenda is the Friendship Bench proposal that started way back in last February. So tonight we need to make a decision. We tabled it in February and said we would vote on it in April.
So I was tasked with going back to Deb and Parks and Rec to get some additional information. So I met with Eileen and Tom, who's in charge of the building and grounds. And we walked the property and we really discussed the bench with the understanding that it was more than just a conversation about the bench. It was about the overall plans for the property and what we saw the future of it as. So Eileen, Tom, and I looked at the area of the building that's off the parking lot. So if you park at the back of the parking lot where the sidewalk is, so it's a sidewalk for the parking lot, and then there's a little sidewalk that cuts to the sidewalk by the road. There are two urns there, and then there are grasses there. So Parks and Rec is going to relocate the grasses, level that area, and then we would install the bench there. That also means that would give us the opportunity down the road to add a second bench to that location as well. We would call it the Friendship Bench. And that would be a nice place to add seating on the property where we don't currently have any. It would be low maintenance since we'd be removing quite a bit of the landscaping to make that possible. And Deb is in agreement with that location. And then that would also tie in with having the outdoor instruments around the property and the AARP tables.
Megan, this is probably a really ridiculous question. I'm embarrassed, but which way would it face? Would it face to the library or would it face to the street?
I have no preference on that. I would be willing to let Deb make that decision.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to visualize it.
I think the municipal lot is very nice. I think it's a well-kept building, so it wouldn't be bad if it faced the municipal side. If it faced the library, we do have a beautiful entryway. However, a lot of the time you would just be looking at cars parked.
Cars, right, right. Okay, so that's to be determined.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
at this point, really, the decision is do we want to accept a bench to be put on library property. I do have to say in my communications with Deb, she was really excited about the location and would like to fundraise to pay for the second bench to go on the other side to make it look balanced.
My vote is definitely to have the bench, because I think she did yoga classes and didn't take money for it, and she really wants this. And I think we should say it's a great thing.
I think it's a good timeline project, especially if we're going to have the picnic tables put in May, the instruments put in over the summer, then the benches would be the fall. And then we have other ideas for the property down the road that we're going to look for grants for. So we'll be showing something to the community throughout the different seasons. And there are no seating areas on that side of the property, on either side of the street.
I know one of the concerns was maintenance, and it seems like that has been taken care of if it's not mowing and all of that. So that's a plus.
Yeah. And
So-
Park and Rec did approve the location, so we shouldn't have any issues with that.
So can you just sort of explain the location one more time? So if you're standing at the building and you're looking out at the municipal center, it's the little area that's like by the sidewalk? Is that what you're saying?
Try to show you a picture. I should have pulled this up. Okay, let me share this with you. So when
Okay,
you-
that's what I was thinking, yeah.
It's very pretty there.
So the grasses and the shrub would come out. The whole thing would be flattened. Grasses would be put in, and the area, the footprint of the bench would be wood chipped.
And will they be facing the town hall or the back of the library?
That hasn't been determined. I don't think there's any concern one way or the other which way.
Okay. Okay.
And this bench itself is maintenance free, is that right?
Yeah, it's a commercial grade exterior bench.
So it won't look awful after a few years.
No, it's the same material and make as the benches on the Greenwood Avenue side of town.
Right.
I have those same benches outside of Daily Fair and they look great no matter what. Like they've been out there many years and nothing is chipped or peeling or anything. They look good.
Great. Okay,
I
so
like the idea. I like the idea.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it facing the municipal center.
yeah, actually, I think I do too after seeing this picture. Yeah.
I can show you from the other side too, if that helps.
Okay. But then you're facing the cars in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the idea.
Oh, it looks like I only have one. Okay, that is it.
But we know what it looks like.
So would anyone care to make a motion to accept the bench?
I would like to make a motion.
Okay,
Who's
I'll
that?
second
Terry?
that.
Terry.
Terry.
To accept
Terry?
the bench, what the bench is.
So just so that we're clarified, we are going to accept one bench,
Mhm.
and that's all. Anything else, any programs and everything else that she talked about in her proposal, at this time, we are just accepting the bench.
The
Okay.
thing is, the
Right.
programs are really irrelevant. That is the responsibility of our programming coordinator to determine that. That doesn't fall under the board, but the physical bench being installed on library property does.
Right, so it's just that, Megan, and we want to make sure that our motion is clear.
You're approving the acceptance of the friendship bench for installation.
Correct, good. And a second?
I'll second it, but I do have a question. At one point, there was going to be like writing on the bench. Is that still happening? And has that been determined what it would say?
So let me stop sharing for a minute so you don't see how messy my email is. So she's looking at something like be a friend, make a friend, friendship bench. I'm going to ask that she just make it friendship bench. She has left it to us to determine, but I think at this point, we don't really need to vote on the name. We'll just keep it extremely simple.
Tia?
Just right quick. So are we going to level, and forgive me, I had to attend to a front door for a second. So are we gonna prepare both sides at this time, or just that one side? Because the other side is kind of unsightly.
I'm gonna ask, but I think Parks and Recs agrees. They don't want us to do this twice. They're
Yeah.
gonna love both sides. Otherwise, it's gonna look rather odd.
Yes.
Having one side with all these tall grasses coming up and the other side not.
Yep.
So I'm requesting that both sides be done at the same time.
Okay.
Eileen and I had a conversation about long-term care of the property, and we were kind of in agreement that this needed to be done regardless of a bench, for the fact that it is not maintained well, it overgrows quickly. The grasses are really just too much for that space on the property.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, then I shall call for a vote for the motion. All those in favor of accepting the bench, the friendship
Aye.
bench, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Great, very good, thank you. I think it'll be a nice addition. Okay, and the next thing, last thing on our agenda is the RFID system. Megan, I'm going to turn this over to you for explanation.
Okay, so the RFID system is a bit of a lengthy presentation. Unfortunately, due to scheduling issues, I'm not able to have Tom here this evening to make that presentation. And I would prefer not to do it without him, as it does get into the technology plan for the library. What I am going to do, though, is send out a few videos for everyone to watch that show what an RFID system is and how they're implemented in libraries. That way you get some background knowledge before we do the presentation next month. Tia had mentioned earlier in the treasurer's report about spending down dollars from the library ops account, because we do have a lot of money in there. A startup for this project would come from that account. So that would be one way for us to enhance the library while spending down dollars. An RFID system is where you tag each individual item and it links directly to a record in Evergreen. The beauty of this is that it allows you to track your system. So we do its inventory every 10 years. Inventory takes months at a time. Each item has to be manually scanned one at a time. With an RFID system, you can wave a wand across a shelf and it'll read every item on the shelf without taking it off. It also means that with depending on how many enhancements you make to the system, you can allow your book drop to automatically scan items as they're put into the book drop. So that way, you know your items are returned the moment you put them in. It allows self-checkout to run smoothly, where it reads through each item and automatically puts it onto your card without scanning each individual item. So it really streamlines our library services and makes the technology of the library far more user-friendly and frees up staff who are already overloaded with work to really focus on the more people interactions and backroom tasks. So
Megan,
Chris?
one question. If you have to put RFID tags on every book, that's a pretty big lift right at the beginning to get it in there, isn't it?
It is. So this is going to be more of a 4-year project and done in stages. The timing of this is ideal because we're going to have a lot of high school kids who are going to need volunteer hours in the next 2 years, who've lost a year of volunteering time because of COVID. So the hope is if we start doing it now, we're going to have a lot more teenagers looking for volunteer hours.
Okay.
And Megan, what is the cost? You have
That
general.
I would like to wait until next month's
Oh,
meeting.
all right. Okay. Okay. We're going to break it to us gently, huh?
Well, we're also looking into different vendors. Costs vary dramatically between vendors. There are pros and cons to the cost discrepancies. working with an American-based company that has people on hand to assist versus working with an international company where it's harder to get assistance. So there are a lot of different factors involved. Currently, we're surveying all of the libraries in Connecticut to see who has already put in a system, who they've used, what they've paid in costs. The other thing is the grant, the ARPA grant is allowing funds to be used for this type of system. So we're seeing a lot more libraries showing interest in this because now there is available funds. So we're really trying to see what's coming out of that.
One comment on that, Megan, is if you could find a system that's supported by two different companies, then over the long term, if one goes out of business, you
Yes.
still have the other company.
Yes, that was another factor, is looking at which companies use unique tags versus universal tags. Some of the more expensive companies do use universal tags versus some of the lower cost ones that don't. So that's another reason that cost is challenging right now to determine. But we would definitely want to go with the universal. This is also a great marketing opportunity as well, though. This would give us something to fundraise for. So if we had another mini golf event, we could fundraise specifically for a self-checkout station. So people would know exactly where the funds are going. And we can do it in stages. Some libraries start very small. Their first year, they do the biggest amount of work, which is tagging each item. And then the second year is where they put the investment into equipment. These systems also work with exterior lockers. So if we continued curbside pickup into the future beyond the first year, we could have lockers that are set up outside where you scan your library card and the locker automatically opens with your items in there. So you could pick up materials when the library is not opened. So there are a lot of possibilities with these systems.
So is this something that the Connecticut Library Association is also looking at it from any kind of or bibliomation or whatever, somebody looking at it from an overall perspective so that there's more people investing in something, therefore, driving down the cost or anything?
There's not at this time. There are not that many companies that do it, so it's not a competitive market. But Richfield's had it for over 4 years now, the system. They've been very happy with it. New Canaan, I believe, was in the process of doing it when COVID shut the libraries down. So we're reaching out to those libraries that have already done it to find out how they went about with pricing and what their price points were.
Okay.
So at next month's meeting, Tom will be on hand. He will present the companies that we are looking into. He will show you the features with which we have been researching and show you a plan of how we view this taking place over the next 4 years.
Great. So everybody, make sure you're at the meeting next month. It's certainly going to be exciting. Any other questions for Megan? Good. Any other issues anyone cares to bring up? All right, well, thank you very much. This meeting has been probably the longest one we've had in a while, so I thank you for your participation. A motion to adjourn,
Motion?
a second?
I second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you, everyone. Have a good
Hi,
evening.
guys. Have a good day. week.
Bye.
Good meeting.